Hello, everyone. Councilman Henry Davis Jr. and I'm here with
Henry Davis Sr.
and you're listening to the Two Henry podcast. Thank you for logging in. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your ear. And please leave your suggestions. And look, listen to our banter because we're going to have some fun here. Today's topic is like 90 degrees, 95 degrees, 100 degrees outside. So I'm a little sweated out. I had a real bad headache earlier today, and so I'm a bit slow. I'm not as smart as I usually am or quick as I usually am. The things wear you out. It's called a migraine headache. I got some Ubrary, what do they call it? Ubrary or whatever that stuff is. It starts with the U. It starts with the U. It's on you see the commercials. It's a really nice commercial. It's kind of grayish, bluish, and stuff works like a charm. Very fast, very fast. But I'm gonna tell you what, some of the symptoms still linger. So if you're a person that has a migraine, and get you some that works pretty good. That's some good stuff. But enough about me and how I feel. How are you doing?
I'm great.
Yeah.
I feel real good.
Okay. Well, you're back with us again, and so we really appreciate you tuning in and listening to our podcast. I'm gonna get the name of that medication before we get off, so I don't sound like I'm crazy or something. Just a little tongue tie, migraine will do that to you. We were discussing a few days ago topics for the show, and this topic came up because we've talked about this a few times before, and I think it's still important that we continue to talk about it, rediscover it, and then have a different conversation about it. He thinks that he wants to take the other side of the discussion, and so that's fine with me. I have no problem with that. I wanted to talk about the woes of public service and public life. I think that was going to open up another level of discussion. We talked last time about being, I think we were talking about being pulled over at gunpoint, right? We were right. Yeah. And so I want to be able to get back there and kind of like unpackage some of the things that have occurred as to the reason why some people just don't get involved. Because it is very, very difficult to stand up for the right thing, which is subjective to different demographics of people. It is subjective. And so, it's a challenge, right? It requires money, skill. It requires your time. It requires you to be completely committed. It requires like you as an individual completely, right? So you're no longer you, right? You don't necessarily belong to you anymore. You belong to the community. And I'm talking about becoming an elected official. I'm not talking about somebody that's volunteering at the local blood bank or Salvation Army, perhaps. Good ideas, good service, but I'm talking about being an elected official. And so that accounts for a ton of things that we get to see, right? We get to see those things. And so I was even on the phone earlier with someone, and they were saying that they think it's like really, really painful that folks who are elected officials, that their pay is public, that their addresses are public, and was just saying their entire life is public. And I was just like, I don't know. I come from a different school. You did ask for it. You did. You asked for it. You campaigned for it. You paid for it. So, I mean, this is what goes along with it. But what you don't foresee happening or going along with this program is a loss of job, your family being messed with, people pulling up in front of your house and just sitting in front of your house in their car late at night. Just a lot of intimidation things that go on. And you also never would have believed that people don't believe you when you're telling the truth. Because those things never can happen. The things I even just laid out, those things don't happen. And I'll tell you what, they do happen. They do happen. A lot worse actually happens. And so becoming an elected official and combing through the process of even learning how to become an elected official is difficult. What do you think? I mean, you got a front row seat to this. You know, you watch this for years.
Yeah, well, I learned that your life is no more private. It's open for all to see, and the way that they want to interpret it. By and large, people will like for you to do for them what they can't or won't or ashamed or scared to do for themselves. And once an official or elected official make a stance, you'll find that a lot of people turn and go the other way because they can't take the smoke. Excuse me. It costs too much because we live in a world and a society where evil is the norm. I think a person that gets into the public life of an official, he's there to make changes. He's motivated by the wrong,
Or she,
or she are motivated.
or they, or them, because you know we do pronouns. I mean, this is a real thing. Go ahead. Go ahead.
They are motivated for change. They are tired of the wrong that they see. They're tired of seeing people discounted. Like the west side of South Bend, how they have devastated that side of town.
And I do this every. So who are they? You keep saying, you know.
People, I'm talking about people in general now.
We ain't generalizing.
Okay, the residents.
The residents have decimated the west side.
No, the residents, I'm talking about how they refuse to stand up. When a public official get out there and make a move to change things, you get people that want to change, but don't want to be exposed while the changes are being made, or people are expressing their dislikes. For some reason, they get scared. They back up and they leave that official out there by himself.
Well, that official asked for it.
But yet and still, you're fighting for them. It's better to go into battle with 300 than 3.
You better believe that.
People want change, but they don't want change.
That brings up another topic of discussion: change. Change is expensive, and it's not for the weak. It's not for the lazy. If I'm asking for that to change, that means I have to change as well. So I can't ask for that to change and I'm not changing. And so if it requires me to change what I do, then chances are I'm not. We're creatures of habit, right? People do this all the time. You know, I need to change, I need to change. Well, what are you going to do to change? Well, I can't do it. No, we're talking about you personally. And so that is something that, you know, is required in that process. When you talk about change, it's required. That is required. Not only the environment and the situation needs to change, but that person that is asking for or announcing that it needs to be a change has to change as well.
I agree. You get an argument from me. The argument that I have, they disappear. They disappear and they go back to what they know. It was like when God let the children of Israel out of Egypt. They were slaves. They were slaves. And then when he led them out, yes, they still had a slave's mentality.
They were programmed. They were socially engineered.
Exactly.
And it was generational.
And they desired to go back when it got hard, even though they had the best official in front of them, which is God.
Hey man, again, it requires you to change too.
I was talking about what a public official goes through.
Well, look, check this out. I want to tell you something I just went through. Maybe about even a week or 2 weeks ago. Well, let me go back maybe 3 weeks ago. I was asked, a colleague of mine called me and asked me if I had got a phone call from the South Bend Tribune. She was told that the Tribune talked to myself and another individual that was a colleague as well, council colleague. And the conversation was, they're going to have like this panel discussion about Citizens Review Board. And I said, no one's called me. What are you talking about? She went on to tell me that there's a panel discussion on this date. I can't remember the date. It's already passed. And that they wanted to talk to us, me, myself, and the other co-sponsor about the Citizens Review Board. And there was going to be like this big panel discussion, and this discussion was going to be with all of these, folks, and it's going to be, on the internet, blah, blah, blah. Well, I never got that phone call. As a matter of fact, I did reach out to the Tribune, and was told that it was somebody else's project that worked for the Tribune, and they were allowed to, ask or invite whoever that they desired, and which is fine with me. So obviously I didn't participate. Not only did I not participate, what bothered me and still bothers me is that there are so many things that are being done to erase or eradicate or to disrupt or to change the mindsets of people who are impacted positively about these new changes. Look, I started working at the Citizens Review Board, police, what was I doing? Police reformation, back in like 2014. There were like a number of black men who were murdered by the South Bend Police Department. This is a real story. And not only that was going on, we had a situation with the infamous tape scandal. So you had all these things in this package, right? Really, 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 really bad look. Feels bad, looks bad, very shameful and hurtful to the community. And so, in my idea of service, as an elected official, here comes the wall with it. So I get the stuff passed, right? I get a resolution passed, and I can't pass a resolution by myself. I have to have votes. And then I also have some co-sponsors. You lock up your co-sponsors, and then you closer to 5 if you got 3 or 4. So you walk in with very close to a win. And so the resolution passed through. It called for body cameras. We got those. They called for mental health checks, regular mental health checks for our officers. Unsure, and it was actually something that was being pushed nationally by the NAACP, and so I was picking up on that momentum. The last one, it was like 4 points. I don't remember all 4, but the one that was in there was Citizens Review Board. Longer walk to the park. So from, let's say 2014, 2015 maybe, to 2000, I think it was 20 or 21. That's how long it took to get passed. Now, there was an interruption of 4 years because I had ran for mayor 2000, I think it was 14 or 15. I lost, so I was out for 4 years. And then when I got back in on council in 2020, this was obviously a priority. It was number 1 on my list. And so we got it passed, right? Oh my God, that was just some extreme stuff. I don't even want to talk about I don't even want to talk about it. It was COVID. It was it was hot outside. And, it just went. But thank God, it passed. So when we have this discussion, when they had this discussion on South Bend Tribune's site, this panel, they asked these questions of these panelists that they handpicked, and in no way, shape, or form anything negative against them, but they can't explain my work, right?
Right. They refused to ask the author about the book he wrote.
Yeah, you can't explain my work. You can't explain the time that it took, why it took that amount of time, what was the reason for doing it. You can't, because these folks don't know. They don't know, and so again, another black eye when we're talking about serving as an elected official. How can the local media shield the community from understanding what their tax dollars are doing for them? Because that's what that is. It passed. It's been implemented. It's in front of us, right? There is a board, right? And so, why would anyone that is depending on such work, such action, can be prevented from understanding what it is, the mission for it, and how it works? And so the Tribune went out. They went in just like really like they dumbed it down.
Right. They watered it down. But the author, I would look at, they don't like the stance that the author has taken. When you got into being an elected official, into public life, you've seen things that were wrong, and people that were there would refuse to acknowledge it. For whatever reason, they went along with the status quo. So here comes this freshman that they thought after a while would become a senior and he would become like the rest of them. But you didn't do that. So the best way to stop a man's program is to personally attack him, to make everything that he has done of non-effect, because we're talking about you. We're not talking about the good that you're bringing forward.
Yeah.
And those people the people that you were helping refuse to stand up and be counted.
You think that's what happened?
I know that's what happened, because there was just a handful of them knuckleheads going into your private life, interpreting it the way that they wanted to interpret it. And then they had the microphone, they had the print of the newspaper to feed those that were listening, and those that wasn't listening to get the news from their neighbor. And after a while, it got so far down the line until, well, you were worse than the worst person in the neighborhood. But yet and still, these people come to you for help. They come to you and voted for you, and they allowed this thing to happen to you. Now, that is one of the worst woes that I can come up with. You put your head out there and they chop your head off.
Yeah.
Did nobody come forward with a Band-Aid, no Mercurochrome? They came forward with nothing. Period. That's what I'm talking about. That's why I said what I said in the beginning. But a person that see wrong, he's motivated by right.
Well, I was just looking at Bishop Browner on Instagram before we got here. It's a minister that I follow. I think he's pretty dope. Instagram, and he was saying you can't have a vision without a burden. Yeah, and it made a lot of sense.
Great.
You have to have it's a burden that you're carrying. And so, in order for, that to be birthed, there's other things that take place in between. But starting off, in order to realize that this needs to be done, created, and completed, you're carrying a burden.
It was like the burden that you carried when they took that straw and stuck it down that young man's throat,
Oh, yeah.
trying to
Like,
retrieve some drugs. Now, anybody in their right mind, come on.
yeah, that was pretty rough. And so I remember that. So what happened is that Rainbow Push Coalition got called in. I made a phone call, and this is when I really found out that politics was just like really a web society. Everybody's connected to everyone. Thinking that they were going to come in here to discuss what was going on. Once Rainbow Push Coalition came in, the mayor was able to whisk them away without the author going on with them to the mayor's office to talk about these very issues. The next thing I know, it really is not a lot of conversation from Rainbow Push. Although Brother Tavis Grant came down and we had a march and went through downtown. Pretty strong march, pretty strong message. I was still, green. I wasn't fully all the way there. Like now, right now. I wasn't battle tested like that then. But we had a march and it was powerful. It drew attention. It was right through the middle of downtown. As a matter of fact, it was during a council meeting, and we ended up not getting very far with this. And I think that was the point, right? You stage this, you have this day of action, and then it's over with. It's completed. And so I thought that we were going to get help from our brothers in Chicago to move this thing forward because it was such an ugly incident. Young man named Michael Anderson. I grew up with Mike. I like Mike. I love Mike. That was a homie. And so it didn't materialize into anything. It just turned into some more bad blood between myself and the South Bend Police Department.
Because they vilified you as if one did not know what he was talking about. It was just like that young boy going to school that morning, crossing the street in a foggy conditions.
Oh man.
And the red lights was turned off.
No, they took him out of the ground, I think, man.
Well, they wasn't working, and he goes across the street and dies.
Christian Moore. I'll never forget his name.
In the end, they made it look like it was his fault.
Well, that's what we read in the newspaper, right? It said that he darted out in front of traffic. He was just trying to get to school for breakfast.
So we'll go back to where we started. These things motivate a person to carry that burden because of what's going on around them. That's what you were doing.
Well, sure.
And it's like the old adage, they say, like the Indian chief will stand on the hill and wave his braves in the battle, but he's standing up there on the mountain watching the battle.
I got to get in there with him.
That's what I'm talking about.
You got
The people elected you and waved you on down into the valley.
by myself.
And then they look up, oh man, they really kicked his butt. Look at that. They punched him one side to the other. And then they began to believe what they're saying.
So
About the individual that they elected. And then these people, not the majority of them, but it'd be enough to start a whispering campaign like the way that we'll call them the enemy wants to happen. So it is no longer about the young man getting killed by a guy speeding through downtown. It's no longer about the police sticking the straw down the young man's throat is no longer about them being in the wrong house looking for somebody and beat up the wrong person. It becomes,
Oh wow, I forgot about that.
I can't forget about none of the mess that's
Oh
been.
wow, I forgot about that. Well, I didn't forget about it, but I just,
So when the individuals stand up and begin to want change, those of the powers that be are satisfied with the status quo. And the people that are crying for change go somewhere and sit down.
well, case in point, okay, because we're talking about the woes of elected life, which this can be completely turned over to the greatness of it because we're still talking about wins, right? These are wins. Some of these are wins. So over the period of time that I served, and it's a 20-year period, a little bit more maybe. You have in the second district, that's where I represented. So we can just say the west side of South Bend. The second district is deeper than the west side. It's downtown as well, and there's some of the southeast end of town. So look, I don't want to do the geography of this, but what I want to point to is that there are, like, because of advocacy, because of the fight, because of legislation, because of the things that are being done by that elected official or myself, I'm talking about. You're dealing with, you get to see, right? You got a new Martin Luther King Jr. Center, right? Dream Center. No, I mean, but you do. This comes through my advocacy. This is my work, right? You got
They tore everything down around it.
Yeah, I can't deal with that. I'm just talking about what it is, right?
Right.
I can't create a utopian society, and I can't wave a magic wand to correct everything. But what we get, no, you don't get to do this. You don't get to do this. You don't get to do this. You laughing.
I'm not laughing.
But look, you got the introduction of a new Martin Luther King Jr. Recreational Center. I call it the Dream Center. Don't get invited. I don't get an invitation to show up. I'm not asked to show up. I mean, these things just didn't happen. They just didn't just appear because somebody said, "Hey, like magic wand," and here it is. Alakazam, Alakazoo. Whatever they used to say on cartoons. You don't get that. You got a new Charles Black Center, a renovated Charles Black Center, and you have new playground equipment out there. You have more than what you have. This is through advocacy. This is through work. This is fighting for new investment in that budget. I got invited to that one. I got invited to that groundbreaking. Somebody had a brain that day. But what I'm saying is that there are productions in these things that come across and that happens for the benefit of society. Now, look, I could say that housing has not performed well, or we're not dealing with a housing plan in those areas. I can say that the school closings, I can do all of those things. But what I can stand on is the production of work that was created and that was done. And I can point to those things. But the thing that bothers me, there is no realization of the next steps, because we actually literally just repeated what was done decades before. That's what I did. I repeated. So another one, you're going to get a swimming pool, what we used to call Bennett's Pool when we were kids. You're going to get another pool over in that area, being Kennedy Park, right? When the last time we've had a pool in that area, that will service all. The one that's there right now is the kiddie pool. It's like a wading, what do they call it? A wading pond or something like that?
Puddle.
No, it's not a mud puddle. But it's not a mud puddle. But seriously, like it works, right? And so you get to see these things, right? You get to see these things, but the idea of attachment to the leadership of that that official, that person that worked tirelessly for these things. I ain't got these white hairs for no reason. I think they told me it looked good. Some people, my wife like it, and so you don't get there without that type of leadership. Again, we go back to it. That leadership was given, but there's nothing that comes. It's not reciprocated, and that's why I just talked about the willful part of elected servitude. It doesn't come back, and that's not why you sign up for it either, right? You're not looking for anything back, but to be denied.
Well, they didn't want you to have the power that you were wielding. Anytime that you can come into another man's house and begin to make changes, that's a fight.
Well, I'm running in the man's house. I live here too.
No, they said we don't live here.
Who's they? You keep saying they. Who's they?
The white public officials. They do not recognize a black leader, and specifically a black male leader. That's what wow. It took all their time to vilify you when nigga was closing the only hotel downtown.
And see, a lot of this stuff, I kind of like moved past it.
And you stepped up with another black official.
Yes, and then we had Sonny that came in here from East Chicago, and Andrew.
And you got
that was some real stuff. That was a real work.
When you got things to moving towards fruition to make this happen, the other black official ran. He got out of the way. He left you out there by yourself.
Well, that's what I was saying. So you said white. I don't think most of my fights have not necessarily been with the folk of the lighter hue. Most of my fights was the people that look like me.
Yeah.
I can say that, up and down from A to Z. My fights were with my very own people. It wasn't with those folks over there. It was with the folks that I thought I just knew that had my back.
It was just like when we.
They elected me into office, so I don't fight. You're gonna be fighting me.
We talked about the gatekeeper the last time. If you had came through the gatekeeper, which were people that looked like you and I, they would have had a chance to dummy you down.
No, I went to school too long for that.
And for a person to be a Democrat, and you have to sit there and you have to fight another Democrat for that which is right, and then that same Democrat vilifies you.
Well,
and you only had one Republican on the board out of 9.
That was Varner, wasn't it?
Right.
Yeah, that was my homie.
So
what's happening, Dr. Dave?
So what I'm saying, as we go back around to it, they leave you out there by yourself. So your motivation cannot be self-grandeur. It's like all the programs that you came up with. When you were out of office, they began to erase your name and put their names there. For instance, the Police Review Board.
Yeah, we just talked about that.
Right.
Yeah.
They gave that to Sharon. She didn't know that from her.
No, that wasn't the one. That was reparations.
Okay.
That was reparations. That was reparations, and that turned into a debacle.
Okay, but then we put it right. They put Lori's name there.
Who?
The one that they interviewed.
Oh, Lori. Yeah. What's happening, Lori?
She stuck by you. She sticks by you today.
Yeah.
But that's what the white establishment was doing to keep you from gaining power, keep you from gaining the momentum that you had started to gain. if people would have came out to those common council meetings, it would have been a lot different because he would have seen everybody in their element.
So let's do this because our time is getting short here. Let's do this. Why would a person, given all of what we just talked about, the wins and the losses, the pain, the stress, why would a person want to run for office? I mean, seriously, why would
It's a
anybody?
calling.
It's a call. Is it okay?
It's a calling.
Sure.
Everybody can't jump up and get hit in the face consistently day after day. Their families taking on that same pain.
Yeah.
And then you
Still
still
going through some stuff.
and you still have day-to-day life apart from that they're affecting. It is a calling. One must really believe in one that is greater than them, and that's what it is. You're yet standing. God is yet with you.
So what is the reward though?
What is
Is there a reward?
Yes, there's a reward.
It's a reward.
Yes, it is
Okay.
a reward.
What's the reward?
The reward is that you're doing what is right in your heart. Money cannot pay and give you that satisfaction that somebody comes to you and you help their life along.
Okay.
That's the reward. The
Yeah.
reward is help changing, help motivate the next generation to take on what you're doing. When the calling comes to them, they can see the woes, the victories that you have had, and go into it knowing what is going to happen.
Well, you give people the ability to be mentored. I was talking to somebody not long ago about that. Not being, and I'm first generation, so I don't have a foundation for this. I don't have a floor from this to pull from. And I was talking to someone earlier about this, and I said, if I had, when I had, or if I could have had that sort of support system, some old head that had served in office for a long time. Tim Browse played sort of that part, right? I mean, he was on council with me, but somebody that sits in the background that sees, the landscape differently than I do, and says, "Hey, there's a pitfall there. Don't step there." But you don't get that because in this society, in this science, it's almost set up that you can't build that way, especially if you don't have money. Money is a necessary thing in politics. I used to say it's not. I used to say, "Oh man, you can win." And truth is, you can win. I have won without money. But in order to create the systematic changes and the structure and to create the framework that is necessary for longevity and creating a support system for generational change, you need some dollars.
Granted,
Yeah, you need some dollars.
you need to begin to own the land.
Yeah,
When they got ready,
but you gotta buy it.
when they got ready to build Kovaleski's
Kovaleski Stadium.
baseball
Yeah,
stadium
we're still there.
on William Street, from Western to the old train station, was black people and black property. They came through there and offered,
Who is they? You gotta catch people. Well, they weren't white people. It's a city government.
okay, but they were white.
Yeah, I'm sure they were, but it's still a city government.
Okay, they came. The only thing that I seen, I worked for the city at that time, and the only thing that they did, they came through there and offered those black people a little bit of money for their property.
Well, they look. That's another conversation. You guys, look. Has been more of a passionate discussion because it's more personal. But look,
It's all personal.
we'll get back there one day. We'll get back there one day. I'd said earlier the word was really muddled about the migraine medication, and it says it's called Ubrel. What is it? Ubrel V. Ubrel V. That's what it is. Ubrel V. Uh, I told you I was going to get it for you. Hey, look, we really appreciate you guys tuning in and listening. Again, leave comments, questions. Perhaps we may have somebody here as a guest on one of these shows. But for the most part, we really appreciate you tuning in. Thank you so much. God bless you. And we'll see you soon.